realistically, that being said, I'm brain farting right now. What else did I want to hit on this? Hello everybody, welcome back to our Blessed Performance YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk turbos. Now, we're not a turbo company, so this is my take on situations, on when to use specific setups for your build, what's going to work good for your build. Obviously, guys like Charlie Fish and many others out there that run a turbo company, they might have other things to say. I'm going to share based on my experiences and things that I have learned over the years with all the setups I've tested, everything that I've done, so I can give my customers some really good advice on what to do. So, right here, right in front of us, this is an ODOG compound kit, S400 over a VGT turbo. This is for a 6.0 Powerstroke. No, the exhaust does not go like that. We were just kind of messing around. The motor mount fits absolutely amazing, but this is in the way. Normally this will tuck right down here. We were putting this together so we could send some pictures to the customer that this is for. That's why it's so much assembled. That being said, I want to take the opportunity to talk about this setup, talk about some different setups, and what each one's gonna do. The setup's not for everybody. This setup is decently expensive, but owning a diesel truck is expensive. Let's be real here. This is a compound turbo setup. Let's break this down real quick. We have single turbo setups, we have non-VGT, we have VGT or VVT, non-VVT, variable vane turbo, variable geometry turbo, kind of just depends on who you're talking to. They're the same thing in the grand scheme of things. Or we have single, so that would be a single turbo setup, okay? And then we have compounds and we have twin turbos. Twin turbos, let me make this loud and clear, this is not a twin turbo setup. No diesel engine is produced with a twin turbo setup. Your EcoBoost is produced with a twin turbo setup. Twin turbos are where one turbo provides air to individual, it's fed off of each manifold. In some situations, guys will fab up to give air to just one bank on either side of the engine in a V8 or a V6 situation. In an inline situation, there's no such thing as a twin turbo. It doesn't work like that. But for lack of better terms or just quick way of explaining it, some guys might call this a twin turbo setup, and I get it, I understand. There's two turbos, you know, twins equals two, you know. But that's not what this is. It's a compound setup. Essentially, what this guy does is feeds this guy, the exhaust feeds this guy feeds this guy, and then it goes into the engine. Essentially, the point of this is when this guy, your smaller turbo in the valley, reaches its maximum efficiency, this big bad boy right out here steps in and says, hey, I can make up for what you can't do. Let me do that for you. Let's take this thing from 35 pounds of boost, which this guy can make more than that, we know that, but let's take it from 35 pounds of boost and push it to 60. Well, this setup right here is a 300/100 cc injector. Of course, it's got a thumper, it's got a full fuel system for it. It's going in an excursion, so if you're in Colorado and you see Austin's excursion with compounds, I don't know if you want to line up against that. It's going to be so much fun to drive. But this guy right here, this setup is a KC S2R dual ball bearing turbo paired with a 480 out here. This setup should be making 70, 80 PSI, no problem, on the right tuning, with everything set up properly, with everything that we're going to do for it. It's going to be a rowdy setup. So I have a lot of people ask me is, when do you need to think about going compounds versus single? You know what, if I had it my way, there's some things that I would do in a 6.0 from the factory. I got the pleasure of compounding King Twins a couple years ago, as you guys know that, the ones that follow our YouTube channel. You guys may have seen King Twins a couple years ago. Well, King Twins opened my eyes to the insane ability of a 6.0 Powerstroke when it's compounded, when it comes to towing and daily driving. It is so much fun. And then to top it off, when you can take, now we got 205/30s in that, okay? The 300/100s are gonna limit the towing, and it's not really a tow rig. Maybe you can tow his boat. This is gonna help a lot, but he might tow his boat and whatnot, but it's an excursion. It's not gonna hook up to a gooseneck and tow 20,000 pounds. Now King Twins has a stage 2 and a 475, and it can tow my 40-foot gooseneck with 12,000 pounds on it. So we're sitting about 20,000 on that guy. It can tow that at 80 miles an hour on I-90, which if nobody's ever driven I-90, you got some hills that go up and down, and you're at elevation most of the time. And it does it like it's not even back there without breaking a sweat. Never goes over 1200 degree GTs ever. And it's a blast. So folks will ask me when to do this. Really, in my opinion, save up the money and do it on your stock truck. But needless to say, really isn't needed in most situations for the daily driver. No. Is it a dream for everybody? I'm sure it is. And I understand why. Because it looks cool, number one. Number two, it outperforms marvelously. The 6.0 Powerstroke has lots of flaws from the factory. Most of them are from here up, or from like in here where the camshaft is up. That down is pretty stout, honestly. Bottom end is stout, 1,000 horsepower, plenty of trucks making that on a stock bottom end. We recommend about 800s where you want to start thinking about it, because then you're going to get to that, you're going to go on the dyno, and you're going to just, oh, we'll just do a little ghetto fog. And then poof, out goes the rod. Damn compressor. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. The 6.0 Powerstroke, in my mind, one of the biggest flaws in it is not head studs. It's not O-ring, the heads. It's the heads, but it's not because of O-rings or head studs. It's not even the Huey system is one of the biggest flaws. In my mind, one of the biggest flaws in the 6.0 Powerstroke, and when you start to look at it like this, and I guess that comes from experience and spending a lot of time with the 6.0s, the biggest flaw in the 6.0 Powerstroke, the heads, yes, but it's not because of the amount of bolts and torquing and all that junk that we hear about on the internet. When it comes to daily driving, race truck towing, race trucking, my bad, or just a daily tow pig, this is an air compressor, really. That noisy thing in the background, every now and then, that's what this is, really. These guys don't flow worth a damn. So we have two options. We have the ADD icons, and we have the Powerstroke Products Performance Race Heads. When we did this build for Austin, icons weren't available. They're getting back in stock pretty regularly now, but these have the Powerstroke Products Performance Heads on them. To capitalize from this setup, you need to upgrade these. And the reason being is that these just do not flow worth a damn from the factory. It's the biggest flaw in the 6.0 Powerstroke world, is that the heads just don't flow. They don't move enough air. And you want air in and out. You want to be able to utilize this setup. So when we get back to what guys are talking about, whether they should do it, yes, you can do it on a stock engine. Yes, you're going to see gains, but you're going to see a lot more gains when you do a camshaft and do the heads and whatnot, okay? So I don't want to scare you away. I've tuned plenty of trucks with compounds on stock heads, and the customers love it. It does wake the truck up even more than just a normal, KC Stage 2 and 190/30 in a tune, and it's just a fun truck. You throw a compound over it, it's even funner. But the 6.0 Powerstroke's one of the biggest flaws if you talk to a lot of people, and a lot of other folks are going to tell you the same thing. It's not the bolts or anything else. It's got to do with it's the fact that these just don't move enough air. So going to a 200 CFM from a 160 CFM head is dramatic change. You're going to open it up. Going to a bigger camshaft is a dramatic change. You're going to open it up and let it breathe. So which one do you want for racing? That's a matter of opinion. Racing can be you can make power with this, or you can make power by sticking this big guy right here. Really, it just depends on what your goals are and your budget. What you're doing with the truck. If you're looking for my recommendation, what you're doing with your truck is going to be the most important situation. A big S400 in the valley is going to be laggy on the street, but once it lights, it's going to be rowdy, and it's going to be incredibly fast. Getting it to spool is going to be a challenge. So on the street, a big S400 isn't always the best way to go, in my opinion. It can be done. It's fun. It's not impossible to do. Plenty of people do it. But in my opinion, on the street, for a truck that's going to drive to the track, compounds are where it's at. For a truck that's going to get trailered to the track, a big S400s are where it's at. When you go away from a VGT to a non-VGT, well, I mean, you can go away from a VGT to a non-VGT with a stock truck, stock fuel and everything. It'll perform very, very well. There's a lot of new things that have come out, a lot of new turbos that have come out, drop-in non-VGT turbos where you don't even have to change up pipes or nothing. You just drop a turbo right in there, non-VGT, boom, done. Tune it, go on with your day. And there's lots of folks that have done that setup or prior T4 swaps that tow and work and daily drive on stock fuel and have zero issues. I mean, a little bit more lag, obviously. That being said, they do perform very, very well. I guess, I don't know where else to put it at. I saw that term somewhere and I'm just slanging it. I just wanted to make a video talking about this awesome setup, explaining some of the details about when to think about going compounds, explaining some of the setups that are out there. That's what I wanted to talk about. That's the only reason I made this video. for the average daily driver, you don't need this. It's really cool, but I recommend it if it's in the budget. But for the average daily driver, you don't need this. A KC Stage 2, KC Stage 1, dual ball bearing, they're gonna do marvelous. They're gonna do wonderfully for what you're trying to do on the day-to-day street. Dropping in a 362, 68 with an 83 housing, that's gonna light really fast. Dropping in one of the Smetty non-VGTs, that's gonna light really fast. All of those setups are gonna be good for single turbos in the valley for daily drivers. If you want more out of it, you do this. That's the best way to put it. You can compound with stock fuel. You can compound with 190/30s. You can compound with 205/30s. Really the size of the injector and the size of the turbo in the valley and everything's gonna equate to power, but there's always gains to be had for adding a second turbo out here. And that's the best way I can put that. The gains, how much you gain from this guy out here is based on the size of fuel in here, the heads, the camshaft, and what's in the valley, of course. We have S300 to S400 compound kits. We can get you an S400 to an S500 compound kit built. That'd be a custom build, probably take a little bit longer. We've got the VGT to S400 compound kits. The 6.0 has come a long ways in the last, 5 years, really. I mean, when you really put pen to paper, these things weren't out there 2 years ago. Well, 2 years ago was the first time we did one. They were being produced a couple years ago, but they weren't being produced on a mass scale production level. That being said, there are countless setups we can do here, obviously, and there are some really cool builds out there. We've gotten the pleasure of working with a lot of customers to help them dial in their build spot on. He's got some cool valve covers, that's why this isn't covered up. It'll be covered up before we ship it. We've got some really cool builds out there that we've got to be involved with, like I was saying. But if you have any questions, hopefully this video helps you dial it in. Hopefully it gets you to where you want to maybe start thinking about, okay, what turbo setup am I gonna go with? Am I gonna go compounds? Am I gonna go S400 big VGT, bigger VGT, S400 non-VGT, S300 non-VGT, single turbo? What setup am I gonna do for my truck? What am I trying to do with my truck? If you have any questions about that, we'd love to chat with you. All you gotta do is give us a call, and we're here to talk. So we ask that you give us a call. We would love to chat with you about it. This setup is wild, and I really wanted to just make a quick video to show you guys how cool it looks. Let's just be honest, look at that thing. Look at how gorgeous it looks. That could be in your truck someday. If you have any questions, give us a call. We'd love to chat with you about S400, S300, non-VGT swaps, T4 right here in this area. Bigger VGT turbos, what is available on the market, what's gonna work well for your setup, whether a compound setup's gonna work best for you. We're here to chat. We'd love to share the information that we know. I hope this video gives you some insight onto what you could plan to do with your build. We look forward to chatting with you. Be sure to click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Have a blessed day.